Engineering and IT, a fascinating sector in which graduates nowadays have a huge choice of opportunities and jobs. And today, I have the privilege of meeting Valtteri Bottas's race engineer, Jonathan Eddolls. Good to see you.
And you.
Good to see you. Now, tell us, what's the difference between your job here in the factory and your job on the pit wall? We see you on the pit wall, we hear you on the pit wall. What's the difference between those two jobs?
The factory is all about preparation. Then we get to the track, and the main thing to do at the track is to put all of that preparation into practice. So you try to simulate for all eventualities, and then when you get back to the factory, it's all about debriefing, understanding where the car was quick, where it wasn't so quick, and then feeding that back into the design office, aero, and those departments so that they can then make improvements for the next race.
So if you could pinpoint one highlight in your career, what would that be?
We've had lots of highlights throughout my career, but I think the biggest was last year in Austria with Valtteri securing his first podium.
Now, when you've had an insurmountable task or something that you really didn't think you were going to get solved, you know, something that was really, really difficult, how did you manage to go through the processes to solve that?
I think one good example was last year in Singapore. After the first practice session, we were very uncompetitive. We were under big time pressure, obviously, going into the next session, but we didn't panic. We came up with a list of objectives, sort of top-level objectives, and gave every individual person on the engineering side a target, and just worked through it that way.
And that was sort of gave you real satisfaction, job satisfaction, to have done it in that way as well.
It did, yeah, because it was all methodical, you know, proper sort of engineering. And actually, by the end of P2, the car was back where it should have been. So a really good feeling that evening when you could see that all that hard work.
It was a real turnaround, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. All to do with tyre temperatures and thermal management, and yeah, really quite a difficult project.
So, are you a sort of conduit in a way from the driver's feedback? So here's Valtteri. Good to see you.
You too.
Hey, hi.
So how important is the communication from the cockpit to the pit wall and vice versa?
Pull to the right to cool the engine on the straights. Pull to the right.
Really important, because you really need to understand each other with the race engineer, because he's the only person you're in contact radio-wise at the track. So
Yeah, so it sounds like a good move. Copy that. We're racing in.
yeah, you really need to make sure that you do speak the same language, you understand.
And what are you looking at from him, as it were?
Well, concise feedback. He's got the best feeling of the car. We have all of the data, which, you know, we really live by that. But there's nothing like having the feedback from the driver, which we can then feed into making changes or balance changes for the next stint.
Do you actually have to learn a language that he is going to understand? He's going to know exactly what you're saying?
Well, I think no.
Not just English.
Yeah, it's just English. I think it's better than Finnish. So yeah, well, of course, we before the season and during the season we go through all the messages, what means what, and always make sure we both, you know, understand every single message. And also, if we see that some of the radio messages are a bit too difficult to understand, if the radio is a bit noisy or something, then we just try to make some things more simple or create new ones.
We're always striving to improve with everything that we do, so I think that's the challenge in F1, really, making sure you, yeah.
So, final question. As a driver, do you think you know enough about race engineering to become a race engineer?
Yeah, I think I'd better just keep driving the car.
And now as a race engineer, do you think you know enough about driving to become a driver?
Well, I think I understand, but for sure I couldn't do it myself. I couldn't put it into practice.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.